Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done a video. It's been a whole month. I've reached 100 subscribers. That was my celebratory noise. You enjoyed it, didn't you? Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done a video, but I'm doing a video right now, so consider this the 100 subscriber special. Maybe, perhaps. I don't know. I might do an actual special. Not sure. I have no time! So yeah, we're going to do something a bit different today. I know I've gone on record saying that I'm not going to do a full review of every My Little Pony episode out there. And that's basically because I only want to do content on things that I feel passionate about. And while I do have passions about some of the episodes of My Little Pony, most of the time they're negative passions about it. I don't really have a passion for My Little Pony as a whole. But I think it'll be good for both me and my audience if there's a general understanding of how I feel about each episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release videos, starting with this one, where I go down the season episode by episode and I describe exactly how I feel about those episodes personally. It's a non-scripted kind of video kind of thing. Just a nice conversation between me and you, in which I'm doing all the talking. And since this isn't really going to be a scripted video or anything, there's no telling how long a video like this is going to take. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide these up by seasons, so there'll be at least 6 videos, and then I'm also going to do one for the Equestria Girls movies, so at least 7 videos. So you're done hearing me explain. Let's go ahead and talk about My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 1. Spoilers, by the way, for this season, and I'm probably going to say some things about the other seasons of My Little Pony, as well as the Equestria Girls, so spoilers for that too. Friendship is Magic Part 1 and Part 2. Two-parters I'm going to be reviewing at the same time. So this one doesn't really have a particular strong emotion for me. I think for both a season opener and a series opener, it's decent. It's really, actually, Part 1, I would say, is really, really good for a series opener. It does a great job of introducing these characters, which is one of the reasons I stuck with the show, even though I didn't like it, is the characters were really, really strong. Part 2 brings up somewhat of a negative aspect for me personally, because when I saw Part 1 and I saw that they were going to go on this grand adventure to find their Princess Celestia, I thought that's what all of Season 1 was going to be about, was them finding Celestia. When it ended in Part 2, I felt really disappointed that it was so quick. And that says something about the pacing of this whole arc, is that it was really, really quick. They had a decent enough plot to stretch it out season-wise, but they did it in 2 episodes. And the thing about the character development is, well, I think it was done really well in the first part. The second part, it introduces the elements of harmony, and is basically saying that this character is part of this element. And as we'll see further in this series, it's kind of unfair to judge an episode based on events that haven't already happened yet, like episodes that haven't come out or seasons that haven't come out, but I'm going to have to go into it because it's part of my thought process. The elements of harmony, when they're introduced in the second episode, they show what the elements represent, and then they put them to a character. And it makes audiences believe that that's that character's main aspect. And it's really not a lot of times. Particularly the one I find the most... The two I found the most difficult when I first saw this, and it continued after, was Applejack and Rarity. Applejack's was honesty, and that moment when she was being honest at Twilight, promising she would be safe, any character could have done that. Like, not just any character of the main 6, any character whatsoever. Honesty is more so when it's... Honesty being a positive aspect is more so is when it's difficult to be honest. It's easier to deceive someone, but you instead decide to be honest because you believe it's the right thing to do. That's what should have happened. Deceiving Twilight at that point in time, there was no way Applejack would have benefited from deceiving Twilight at that time. And as well as Rarity. Generosity. I've always had a problem with Rarity being generosity, and it started in episode 1. It seems to me, generosity to me is when it's, again, it's similar to when it's similar to all the elements really, except for laughter. It's when it's easier to be the opposite of that, but you instead decide to be that because you honestly believe that's the way to go. Rarity's generosity does not seem like it's her thinking about the other person. Rarity's generosity comes from her passion of something. Like when she's helping the dragon dude, what's his name? Stephen Magnet, that's his official name now. When she's helping Stephen Magnet, it's because she herself has a passion and an understanding for fashion. And that's why she sacrifices her tail, because she understands what Stephen Magnet is going through. And it's not as bad as Applejack's is, but yeah, I've seen that in further episodes later. Rarity is doing something she personally has a passion for and is willing to distribute it to others. And they call that generosity. And that doesn't work for me. Honestly, I've switched these two. I've seen Rarity as the honest one and Applejack as the generous one. Applejack will help no matter what the situation. And most of the time, Rarity is completely forward with how she feels about what's going on. Some people have also said they switch Applejack and Rainbow Dash because Rainbow Dash is very honest and Applejack's very loyal. And I can see that too. That certainly works. But Applejack definitely shouldn't be honesty. It doesn't work. In later episodes, when she is honest, when it's centered around her being honest, not when she's honest, when the episode is centered around her being honest, it always feels forced. It's like they're trying to remind us, hey, don't you remember, she's the honest one. It doesn't work. I should say that in this episode, this is where I relate most to Twilight, and she was my favorite character in the show at this point. It has since changed, but I really liked how Twilight was in episode 1 and just how introverted and non-social she was. I related to her so much. But the concept of the show is friendship is magic, so they had to change that. So overall, it's a good opener, a good season opener, but it certainly had elements that could have been elements that could have been fixed. Ha! I'm funny. Episode 3, The Ticket Master. So this is the one where Twilight's friends fight over who's going to go to the Grand Gala. And this is the episode that almost got me out of the show. Because, as I said, I was expecting an adventure series or a superhero series, and I found out it was a slice of life series, one that was not suited to my particular needs. But that's in regards of life. In regards of quality, I think it's a really good episode with the friends fighting over and Twilight trying to decide. You could argue that the episode came too soon because Twilight's supposed to be deciding which of her best friends she should take. She's just met these girls, you know. We've been on one adventure with them. And yeah, in Twilight's mind, they are her best friend. But she has a naive sense of friendship at this point. There's one thing I want to talk about this episode. There seems to be a common misconception in that Celestia was trolling Twilight. She knew Twilight had 6 friends and she only sent her 1 ticket. I thought that 1 ticket was for Spike. If you go back to the beginning of that episode, Twilight immediately invites Spike, which says a lot about who she considers her best, who she truly considers her best friend is. But yeah, I thought the ticket was for Spike initially, and he said he didn't want to go to any of that girly frou-frou stuff. And then at the end, Celestia sends the 7 tickets as well as an extra ticket for Spike. And the episode plays it out like he really did want to go. I don't think I'm kind of killing the author here when I say this, and I'm going into headcanon territory, but I don't think Spike wanted to go to the Grand Gala at all. It was when he discovered everyone else was going, and he wanted to go with everyone else. And when we get to the Grand Gala episode later, we'll see that Spike wanted to have fun with everyone. It wasn't the gala himself he was excited about. It was the thought of spending time with his friends. And that's why he got excited at the end. It wasn't the gala himself. He still considered it girly frou-frou stuff, but he had 6 friends who were going. He wanted to be included. So that's the Ticketmaster. Good episode. Doesn't resonate with me personally. Episode 4, Applebuck season. This one. If you guys haven't seen my MLP reviews, I oftentimes make the joke about Applebuck season. because I wanted to review Applebuck season as my first positive review. This is one of, if not my favorite episode of the show, but I never feel I can get the script quite right. So just about every episode, it's just become a joke now that I say, oh, I'm supposed to review Applebuck season, and I just killed the joke by explaining it. But yeah, I was supposed to do a review of Applebuck season months ago, and I never got around to doing it. But Applebuck season, this is the first episode I personally felt affected me. I have a personal affection because I feel like I am so much like Applejack in this episode. I think of all the characters in MLP, I mostly like Applejack. I myself am mostly like Applejack. I said RP is a lot like Zephyr Breeze, but I'm like Applejack. And I felt Applejack when she did not want to admit she needed help. And she was willing to go and help other people, which is why I feel she should be the element of generosity. She was completely willing to go and help other people without any concern for herself. And she just would not admit that she needed help. And it got to a point where she was making other people suffer because she could not admit that she needed help. And I've been there. I felt that. And I've said before that just because you relate to a character doesn't mean you should justify their actions. So I'm definitely not gonna justify and say, well, Applejack was completely in the right. No, she wasn't. It's just I understand her mentality so much. And not only that, even if I didn't, the jokes in this episode are just so funny to me personally. Nothing in MLP has ever made me just burst out gut-wrenching laughter. It never has, but they've brought about jokes where I say, okay, that was funny. If you ever see me like laughing at MLP, it sometimes comes across as fake. It's because it didn't make me laugh, but it made me want to laugh. I actually noticed that in my reaction to every little thing she does. Like I was laughing and I was just watching myself like, that's not a real laugh. It's because it made me want to laugh. But yeah, back to this Applebuck season. I really, really love this episode. This is the first episode I genuinely liked about MLP, and there's not a whole lot of episodes that I will say that there's more now, 6 seasons, but yeah. Episode 5, Griffon the Brush-off. This is one where Rainbow Dash's friend Gilda comes back. It's a good episode, doesn't resonate with me personally, doesn't really say anything. I like the twist at the end that Pinkie Pie was not playing the practical jokes. That kind of turned me around my head. And I like that Pinkie Pie knew to stop with Fluttershy, because I gasped when I saw they were about to play a trick on Fluttershy, and I was like, no, she's sensitive. And then Pinkie Pie stopped and was like, no, she's sensitive. It's pertinent to the episode. Overall, good episode. Nothing personal about it. Number 6, Boast Busters. This was the first one I considered legitimately to be a bad episode. Boast Busters, I think I said I've considered Suited for Success the first episode I considered bad. That's actually, if I did say that, that's not true. Boast Busters was the first one. And when I say bad, I mean it had more negative than it did positive. It doesn't mean it's like just completely horrible. This is the one with Trixie, Trixie's first introduction. And the reason why I don't like this episode, I love Trixie. I do love Trixie. I really like Trixie as a character. I hate this episode because everyone jumps on Trixie's case about showing off. And it's like, she's not doing anything wrong. She's doing her job as a talent performer. That's her job, to show off. And even if she wasn't, I've said all the time, I don't care about show-offs. I'm fine with you showing off as long as your talents reflect what you're showing off. One of my favorite characters is Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, because he's such a big show-off. And his traits, his traits show that. I was a little disappointed when he eventually became a coward at the end of the movie, but I'm way off topic. Going back to this, yeah, that just upset me. And it also upset me that No, that's just what upset me. However, this episode does have one of my favorite jokes it is my favorite joke to this day of all time in MLP when when Twilight and Spike are arguing and Spike shuts the door because he thinks it's a real door. He's like, I'm leaving. And they both just make the greatest face. Oh yeah. So there are lots I personally liked about this episode. I love that joke. I love Trixie. But overall, just telling Trixie, you shouldn't show off. You shouldn't show off, even though it's your job. You shouldn't show off, even though you're good at what you do. You shouldn't show off. It's like, no, there's nothing inherently wrong with showing off. And really, the other characters who interrupted Trixie should have been in the wrong. That was just annoying. Number 7, Dragonshy, the one where Fluttershy, the main 6 had to fight a dragon, and Fluttershy is scared of dragons. Okay episode, I often quote this episode, the hop, skip, jump. If you've ever seen any of my Let's Plays, I say it all the time while I'm jumping. Hop, skip, jump. That's pretty much the only thing I have, the only personal preference I have with this episode is that quote. I say it a lot. But, good episode, but I don't really care for it too much. Episode 8, Look Before You Sleep, where Twilight has a sleepover with Rarity and Applejack. This episode is just cringe. It's cringe the episode. That's all I have with this episode. Like, every time Applejack and Rarity fight, I'm just cringing. I don't dislike it too much, but I definitely would want to go back and watch it again, because I just cringe at everything. Episode 9, Bridle Gossip. This is where Applebloom and Twilight, it's Cora's first episode basically, and Applebloom and Twilight try to find out like why everybody's so afraid. As a person with dark colored skin, you would think this episode would resonate with me more, but I mean, I kind of like Spike, how he's teasing all the main 6 when they oh, and Flutter Guy just made me like just that was when I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, I didn't expect that. But yeah, overall, the episode doesn't really do much with me. It's whatever. Number 10, Swarm of the Century, where the Parasprites eat everything. And we're supposed to glorify Pinkie Pie, even though she didn't communicate properly. Yeah, people have often said that problem with this episode is that Pinkie Pie doesn't communicate properly. Yeah, we're supposed to resonate with her. While I admit that's a problem, it's not one that makes me personally dislike the episode too much. I don't care for this episode. There's a lot of episodes you'll hear me say that, like, I just don't care for it. And that's that. Really not much to that. It introduces the Parasprites, which are brought up minorly a lot. Like, they'll say, oh, is it a Parasprite? It'll just fly across the screen. But that's about it. Number 11, Winter Wrap-Up. This is actually a really, really good episode. It's mainly remembered for the first song that influenced MLP, because we had songs before, but most of them were sung by Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie was the song pony, and I think it was at this point that the staff decided, let's not make Pinkie Pie the song pony, let's just have songs. And this song, most fans will agree, was the first really fantastic song. Like, the one before this that was close, somewhere in the vicinity of good, was Giggle at the Ghosties. Everything else seemed to just be a made-up song by Pinkie Pie. And yeah, I have to agree, Winter Wrap-Up, the song Winter Wrap-Up is just really, really... Okay, I don't like to call music good because I just like catchy songs, and I know in the music industry, they don't consider that good, they consider it like a cheap effect to make songs catchy. But yeah, I really like the episode mainly because of the Winter Wrap-Up song. The lesson in that sticking to traditional means I'm fine with. You can get on my bad side when it comes to tradition versus new stuff. And there is an episode, I think it's in season 3. Maybe it might be in season 2. It's in one of the seasons where they do get on my bad side, but they don't do it here. And because I believe there are times when you should follow tradition, and I believe there are times where you should abandon tradition. And they said specifically in this episode, they follow tradition because of pride. Even though they admit in the episode it's incredibly less efficient. Like, they had so many problems in this episode. that it didn't come in till the end, but they still wanted to follow it due to their pride. And I also like the concept of figuring out what you can do in an environment. The thing Zephyr Breeze kept trying to do but failing at was figuring out what you can do in an environment, even if it's something different, something nobody else has ever done. The difference between Twilight and Zephyr, which we'll get into when... I mean, I've already reviewed the Flutter Brother episode, but yeah, the difference between what Twilight did and what Zephyr did was Twilight tried to do everything. She tried. She tried to do everything. She tried, and it came across as bad. Then she tried to do something her own unique way, but broke the rules to do it, and that was frowned upon by everyone. And then eventually she found something else that didn't involve breaking the rules. So yeah, I like the episode overall, specifically for the song, but I think the lesson inside is... I think the episode just overall, lesson, characters, everything, it's just really good. Call of the Cutie. This is the first Applebloom episode. Well, no, I shouldn't say the first Applebloom, because the Zecora episode had Applebloom in it. Applebloom featured in it. But this is the first, I should say, CMC episode, technically speaking. This is where the CMC make their appearance, and this is where Applebloom first acts like a CMC member, because she's trying to get her cutie mark. I like this episode because of the lore elements, and it introduces Applebloom, who at one point in time was my favorite MLP character. I really enjoyed Applebloom's character. Plus, she's played by Michelle, and I love Michelle. I love Michelle and Gabriel because they're getting stronger. Anybody who doesn't follow my DeviantArt probably doesn't know that. But yeah, getting away from the actors. Call of the Cutie, the episode in itself, it's kind of cringy. I like it because I like Applebloom and I like all the stuff she does. But at the end, when she's at the party and she's like, yeah, I have a cutie mark, it's just so amazing. I don't want to show it to you. That part I cringe at so much. I grew up not lying. Like I still don't like to lie. So if I ever got in a situation where lying was the easy way out, I just didn't take it, and because I knew it would lead to something worse. And so whenever I see a character lie on a show and it's obviously going to lead to something worse, I cringe so much at it. So yeah, Call of Cutie. I like the episode. Overall, I like it. Episode 13, Fall Weather Friends. This is where Applejack and Rainbow Dash compete in the annual running of the leaves. What annoys me about this episode is, at this point, I did not consider Rainbow Dash a cheater. Like, she was clearly cheating, and she was making up all these excuses. I would figure someone like Rainbow Dash would have pride in her competition. The pride of not cheating comes from the fact that if you do cheat, you did not earn your victory. And that's something I feel Rainbow Dash, of all people, should know. And the fact that Applejack was willing to sink to her level, too. I find that Applejack has an intense integrity. I guess the competition changed the thing about her. I could see her manipulating the situation, but just downright cheating. Yeah. I kind of don't like the episode because of that, because of just all the cheating. And a lot of times people say this is where it's clearly brought out that Twilight had no reason to be in this episode other than to give the lesson at the end of the day. I never noticed that. They say it happens throughout the season, and I guess it does. I've never really noticed it, and I really didn't care that it happened all the time. Episode 14, Suited for Success. Yes, this is the first MLP episode that I reviewed officially. So a lot of people know about my opinions about this episode. I personally have issues with it because the lesson I felt was really bad. They blamed Twilight's friends when they blamed Rarity's friends when the only thing they did was be honest and have bad fashion senses. They accepted Rarity's dresses. They said but they were honest about their opinions, and people, the fans of MLP plus the episode gets on Rarity's friends' cases. And I've said in the review why I feel that this is just the wrong mentality to take. You shouldn't blame somebody because they honestly don't like what you've given them, especially when they say, no, it's fine, I'll still accept it. You worked really hard, I appreciate your gift, I'll still accept it. And then you come and say, no, it's not good unless you like it. That's the major problem I had. Rarity insisted that the dresses weren't perfect unless they thought it was perfect. Rarity herself is the fashion designer. Okay, they value her opinion, and her opinion as a fashion designer was, it's not perfect until you think it's perfect. And I think that's just, no. You can't blame Rarity's friends for that. That was all on Rarity. So yeah, first episode I didn't like, and the fans of this episode really made it worse. People say this is not only the best Rarity episode, but one of the best episodes, period. And I just don't see it. I really don't see it. Episode 15, Feeling Pinkie Keen. Whew, yeah. I know a lot of people hate this episode. I don't. I understand why they hate this episode. It makes a lot of sense. I agree with them. I just don't feel that strongly about it. This is the episode where Twilight doesn't believe Pinkie Pie's Pinkie sense is a thing. And, it's pretty much supposed to be an allegory between faith and religion and secular thoughts. People say, well, if somebody believes something and you can't prove it, just let them believe. Yeah, that's pretty much a bad moral, a bad way of putting it. It's not necessarily a bad moral, it's just the way they worded it. In case you're interested, by the way, I am Christian. But they worded it really, really badly. And they made Twilight just look very bad throughout the episode. Overall, it's just meh to me. I don't like it. I don't dislike it. But I do understand why most people don't like it. Episode 16, Sonic Rainboom. This is the episode where Applejack, that's not her name, Rainbow Dash has to perform in the Cloudsdale flight thing or whatever, and Rarity winds up outshining her, which I think, like, first of all, should Rarity have even been allowed in that competition? She clearly had magic enhancement to help her. Just, like, is that even fair? Twilight could cast a spell on Rainbow Dash to make her go faster or something like that, to cheat. And Rarity basically cheated throughout the whole thing. But yeah, this episode, even though it's one of the most iconic episodes in MLP, because it introduces the Sonic Rainboom, it was just meant to me. I felt kind of sorry for Rainbow Dash. At the same time, I was cringing at the fact that she was so nervous. I didn't really care for Rarity's actions. A lot of you're supposed to hate Rarity's actions. I didn't really care for them. So it's just a meh episode. 17, Stairmaster. This is where Fluttershy tries babysitting the CMC. Again, another meh episode. A lot of these episodes are good. It's just they don't resonate with me personally, and I think I've said that about 5 times now. This introduces that Fluttershy is a natural animal caretaker, but she's not natural with people. It gives good character development. Shows what the CMC are capable of. Just nothing that sticks out for me personally. Good episode, but meh to me. The Showstoppers. This is where the CMC sign up for the talent show, and the episode shows exactly what their talent is, but they don't figure it out. I have such a negative connotation with this episode because of the song. I love the songs of MLP. And that song is so bad. Now, they deliberately made it bad, so I'm not angry at them or anything. It's just, every time I'm listening to an MLP playlist and this song comes on, I just skip it every single time. I hate that song. This episode had some other problems that people have said, that they shouldn't have revealed exactly what their talents are. Yeah, I agree with that. They should have alluded to their talents, hinted at them, which they tried to do. They did. It's just that they made it super obvious. Even at the end, Twilight's like, someday they'll learn. Just like, you can't say they tried to hide it completely. It should have been a gradual process, but instead they're just like, hey, these are their talents. But then again, they probably didn't even know they were going to get a 2nd season or a 6th season. So it's kind of, I can see why they made that mistake. Episode 19, A Dog and a Pony Show. This is the one where Rarity is kidnapped by Diamond Dogs, and it's got a lot of Spike interaction in it. I guess this is a good time to talk about my feelings between the relationship between Spike and Rarity. And I don't think it overall hurts the show, but I don't think they put too much thought into it, you know. The fact that they're two different species, and the fact that Spike is younger than Rarity, it's fine. He has a crush on someone older than him. It happens. It happens to a lot of people. That's fine. But the fact that they're different species, and the dragons are a species that the ponies themselves don't understand too much, it brings about a bit of confusion. But it's confusion that the show in itself is not willing to address. So, yeah, that's always how I felt about the relationship. Just, yeah. I don't necessarily think it's horrible. I think they just could have done it better, or it could have addressed it better or something. I think they went into it without the intention of addressing it. And yeah, that's kind of a bad thing. But this episode, you know, it shows Rarity being put with brutish dog people and Spike going off to save her. It could be another one of MLP's shots at male, what's it called? I can't think of the proper term, so I'm just going to use a Shady Doorags term. Just maleness, being male. You know, MLP has oftentimes made fun of males. And a dog in a pony show could be very much that. You know, all the dogs were male. Rarity was a female. They tried to enslave her, and she wound up being on top of the hierarchy. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that was their intention, but you could easily see it that way. Especially considering MLP has had all these messages about males and making fun of them and whatnot. This episode doesn't really have anything too much personal with me, but the interesting about this episode is this was the first MLP related content I saw. When I was watching a video on YouTube and MLP was gaining popularity, it showed a 2-minute clip from this episode, and I was just, you know, I just had this face the whole time. So I was just wondering, why are they advertising My Little Pony to me, a 20-something-year-old nerd? I didn't know back then that My Little Pony was gaining popularity for 20-something-year-old nerds. But, yeah. So, just a meh episode, you know. Overall, I guess you could call it okay. But it doesn't really resonate with me anything. Episode 20, Green Isn't Your Color. Now, this is a particularly interesting episode to me. This is the episode where Rarity asks Fluttershy for help in modeling her dress. Fluttershy does it because Fluttershy is a good friend, and Fluttershy winds up getting super famous for being a model, and Rarity gets jealous. I think this episode handled this very well, in that Rarity, I consider the main focus Rarity. The main focus is supposed to be both Rarity and Fluttershy. Rarity is so jealous of Fluttershy, she's trying so hard to hold it in. And at the end, she's like, you know what? I hope Fluttershy fails. I hope she gets on stage and fails. I hate the fact that she's so popular. And that is a real emotion that people feel. That they want to be happy for their friend. They want to, but they're not. And they cannot control that emotion. And in the end, they want to see that person fail. They want to see that person fail. And then Fluttershy does fail. And like, this genuinely moved me. I didn't cry or anything, but it genuinely moved me when Fluttershy, who was sabotaging her own model thing, genuinely failed. And Rarity, through all her power, made sure she didn't. And she said, when I saw, I really wanted you to fail because I was so jealous, but when I saw you on that stage, I just couldn't. I couldn't. Because in the end, yeah, she was jealous. Yes, she truly did want to see Fluttershy fail. But when it happened, she did not want to see her friend suffer. And that's like, you know, as manly as my testosterone makes me. That got me. That got me. That was just, you know, it was great to see somebody overcome such a strong emotion. And I can't really say overcome because it wasn't willpower. She wanted to see her fail, but then she didn't. That just shows who Rarity is as her character. You know, I don't resonate with the Fluttershy stuff too much. I mean, I can understand if somebody out there does, you know, being pressured into doing something to make somebody else happy. The whole issue with the Pinkie Pie promise and the Twilight issue, you know, just whatever. I don't care. This is another episode where Twilight feels kind of forced into the situation. But yeah, I really like this episode, mainly for that one part where just Rarity, she wants to see Fluttershy fail, and then in that moment, she cannot stand watching Fluttershy fail. I really like that part. 21, Over a Barrel. This is with Appaloosa. Why am I wearing these headphones? This is with Appaloosa. And the Appaloosa residents fight over the neighboring buffalo. There's a lot of good jokes in this one. It doesn't really... I don't really care for this episode too much. When they do violent episodes like this, it seems really silly to me when they just try to do violence and they clearly don't want to go all the way. Which, it can be a charming thing. It's just in an episode where you had a goddess trap her sister, and then that sister comes back seeking revenge, you know, where there could be actual violence, and then you come to this war and it's like, oh, they throw pies at each other. Those two don't mesh up. It's not consistency. It's one of the 3 C's of literature, you know. Character, continuity, consistency. It's not consistent. It seems like if they could resort to violence, they would resort to violence because they've done it before. So, yeah, I guess it's I slightly. I think I'm more meh, just under the meh meter. Slightly more negative, but yeah, not too much. Episode 22, A Bird in the Hoof. This is when Fluttershy steals Celestia's pet in order to cure it. This episode, it gave me a couple of giggles, but nothing too memorable. That's all I got to say about that. Episode 23, The Cutie Bark Chronicles. One of the most important episodes of the series. This is when the CMC tried to find out more about cutie marks, and so they asked the main 6 how they all got their cutie marks, and it turns out the main 6 all got their cutie marks at the same time, coincidentally. It's almost like the universe was built around them. And I think it's a good episode. You know, one of my favorite lines from this is, and that's how Equestria was made. That's that joke is delivered so perfectly. You just don't see it coming. And this is where, you know, we first see we get a glimpse at all the main 6's pasts and whatnot, and that's, I keep rubbing my nose. Sorry, allergies. That's when I've said character is one of the most important things in literature, and getting your character's backstory right is part of character. Overall, I really do like this episode, although I don't have much to say about it. I like this episode as much as the next person, for the same reason as the next person likes this episode. That's it. Episode 24, All's Well That Ends Well. I consider this a bad episode, but when I think about it, I don't care about it. It's a Spike episode, and Spike episodes tend to focus on Spike being just a mean brat. Well, they used to. They've gotten a lot better since season 5 and season 6. But they focus on Spike just being a brat, and I don't feel that that's personally Spike's character. I feel like his main goal is to help people, to not be selfish and to not be selfish. Let's just leave it at that. So it was kind of annoying that, you know, this owl comes in and Spike just gets jealous. I can see why they might think that's a change of character. Twilight's never had another assistant, so that could bring out something in Spike that he didn't know he had. But overall, it's just not entertaining to watch. To watch a character you've seen be good for so many episodes just suddenly become this. What's in this episode. And I kind of liked the reasoning Twilight had, that Spike is a baby dragon. He needs sleep, and she needs an assistant at night. But it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent with other things that we've seen. So, yeah, overall negative, although I do feel somewhat of a meh attitude towards it. It's more leaning towards I dislike this episode. Episode 25, Party of One. This is the episode where Pinkie becomes suspicious of her friend, and she thinks that they're avoiding her. They don't want to be her friends anymore. Blah blah blah. It's a Pinkie Pie episode, and it kind of goes into her psyche, showing that she is really extrovert centered. You know, so is Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie are both extroverts, but Pinkie gets so depressed at the thought of someone not liking her, especially her friends. This is the episode, I want to say it introduces Pinkamena, but it doesn't really introduce her. We've seen her in the Cutie Mark Chronicles. For those of you who don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't know this watching an MLP video, but you might not know it. Pinkie Pie's full name is Pinkamena Pie, but we call her Pinkie, but whenever her hair is down, we call her Pinkamena. And that's because generally her hair being down signifies her old self, herself who wasn't happy, who didn't know her place in life. She used to be a rock farmer, as we saw in the Cutie Mark Chronicles, and she just felt her life was miserable. And then when she learned that she wanted to make people smile and feel as happy as she did, her hair poofed up, and that's when we call her Pinkie. This episode introduces the concept that Pinkie can become Pinkamena again. Because when she thinks her hair, when she thinks her friends don't want to hang out with her, her hair just falls and she becomes really psychopathic and crazy and depressed and etc. etc. I really like this episode. At first I didn't, because I don't know, there was one part in there where when Pinkie Pie's friends were avoiding her, that part made me feel uncomfortable. But like the jokes, I really like the joke of her interrogating Spike, and she says, she demands that he says this one line, and he says this one line. That Spike nowadays wouldn't do that. Spike nowadays is smarter than that. But he just says it and then just goes about his own business. Like, it didn't even hurt. He didn't even notice that it hurt Pinkie's feelings. But that just made me laugh a lot. And I do like Pinkamena. I like Pinkamena's design. The whole loose, wet hair design concept, I really like that. As you might notice with Ellipsis, her hair looks like it's wet all the time. So I just like seeing that style on Pinkie. And I like the Pinkie going insane like anybody else. I just like all the Pinkie aspects of this episode. Again, just like the next person. So yeah, I really like this episode. And finally, we get to the best night ever. In some ways, I consider this the best finale to have aired on the show. In other ways, I consider it not the best. Not the worst, but not the best. And the reason for that is because MLP originally was a slice of life show. They had one opener where there was a grand scheme of, it was a grand scale event. And then after all that, it was slice of life, including this finale. We have not since had a slice of life finale. It's always been a grand scheme thing. And I think the writers realize that sometimes people want the grand scale, sometimes they want slice of life. So they save the grand scale things for like the season openers and the season finales, and then the slice of life comes about. I mean, we have had action sequences like the Appaloosa episode, over a barrel, but nothing really as big as what happened in the first two episodes. The best night ever to me. I love this episode. First of all, that freaking song. I love that song. Oh, I love that song. I can't describe why I love that song, but I think I'm gonna make an attempt to. I think I love that song so much. A, the tune. I don't know what about the tune I love, but I just love the tune. B, every single one of the main six sings, and I tend to love songs that have all of them singing, especially when they get solos. And it just shows, it distinctifies, that I don't think that's a word, but I'll use it anyway. It distinctifies their characters. You know, each of them get different melodies. Each of them are singing about something different. You could argue it's pointless because we already know what they want to do. But if you didn't see the Ticketmaster, you might not know. So it's a good way of refreshing the audience's reminder of why everyone wants to be here at the gala without just saying, well, as you know, I'm going to the gala to do this, that, this, that, this, that. It's a really good thing. And I don't think we actually knew Twilight's reason for wanting to go to the gala. But I love the songs where every single one of the main 6 gets a singing role. My favorite singer, by the way, is currently Pinkie Pie. I realize that some of the singers, they're not the same person. They're not the same voice actress, but that's here and there. It used to be Fluttershy. It used to be a tie between Fluttershy and Rarity, because Fluttershy to me felt so natural, while Rarity felt so divine. It was like 2 extremes. But then later there will be a song I'll when we get to that episode in another video I'll say. But right now it's currently Pinkie Pie. In this episode, in this song, my favorite part, I don't know. It might be Pinkie Pie's and it might be Rarity's. Anyway, I've gotten so off topic with that song. That's one of the major reasons I love this episode, though. There are a lot more reasons. There's a lot of good... I love the concept of, this is what I want to happen, and nothing happens like anybody expects it to. I love that concept. It's not a concept you can constantly do, but yeah, and the irony of calling this episode the best night ever is just, there's a motorcycle outside. How lovely. The concept of it is just that pleases me. That sense of irony pleases me so much. As I said before, there's some good character for Spike, because he shows that he wanted to go to the gala to spend time with his friends, and even then he gets to the gala, and when all his friends run off, what does Spike do? He pouts, and I like that, because his night was ruined, just like everyone else's. He went there expecting to hang out with everybody, and his night was ruined because nobody wanted to hang out with him. They all wanted to do different things. He wouldn't have minded doing their different things. He just wanted to do it together. And there's, of course, the infamous Fluttershy moment. I don't like that scene as much as the next guy does. I do like it, just not as much as everybody else does. And the big thing about this episode, though, is that it's comparable to another event that's going to come up later, and that's the Equestria Games. And this is one of those things that had a build-up throughout the season, and then it had a payoff. And I'm probably going to dive into this more when I get to Equestria Girls game, the Equestria Games. But I really like how it was handled here, because we did get the payoff. We saw what everyone wanted to do, and at the same time, we got a story. We saw how it wasn't going at the same time. I don't know if I can properly explain what I'm trying to get out here, but I like the payoff and I like the build-up, and I have a much different feeling for the Equestria Games, where I still like that episode, but I don't necessarily like how it was handled. But I'll get to that more when I get to the Equestria Girls game. I keep calling it Equestria Girls Games. The Equestria Games. Yeah. But that was the best night ever, and I want to say it's my favorite episode of the season. Let me go back and look over the episodes right quick. Oh, no. Applebuck season. Yeah, Applebuck season is definitely my favorite episode of the season. But yeah, Applebuck season, definitely my favorite. So overall season 1, it's not my favorite season in the universe, but it distinctively stands out, because looking at the show now, it's not the same show as season 1 is. It's kind of like looking at the difference between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, but to a lesser extent. You know, you still have the same characters doing the same thing. You still have, in Dragon Ball, you still have Goku fighting powerful opponents and saving people's lives, but it's on such a grander scale. Nowadays in My Little Pony, you still have the main 6 involved in friendship lessons, but it's on such a grand scale. And to me, season 1 felt more natural. In that, because there was no tree of harmony, no map of harmony sending the main 6 out to do their job. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing, so don't assume I'm saying I like season 1 more than what we have right now. It's just that it felt more natural, and if you were into the slice of life episodes, I can see why you like season 1 or the earlier seasons more than you like now, because even the slice of life episodes now we get don't feel as fluid, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Season 1 overall I like. And that's pretty much as best as I can put it. It's definitely not my favorite season. It's not my least favorite season either. It's like smack dab in the middle. So this has been a review of season 1 for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I will be doing all 6 seasons. There's probably going to be a 7th season. Like I said, I'm also going to be doing Equestria Girls, but there's probably going to be a 7th season. There's definitely going to be a 7th season. And I will be doing the Equestria Girls movies as well. Let me know how you guys like this, if you liked it, if you didn't like it at all, if there's any way you think you could like it, if I just changed it up a little bit, you know, maybe did something to spice it up. I'm just trying to find ways to invigorate my channel a bit more because, as I said before, I'm very busy and I don't necessarily have all the time in the world to make videos, but this is a long video I can make that doesn't require the massive editing that an episode by episode makes, and I think it'd be good for the channel, you know. And if you guys like this kind of stuff, I'll do it for more things than just MLP. Like I might do it for like Justice League or something, or I don't know, some other show that I have access to, or even newer shows, something like that. But you know, just let me know in the comments what you guys think about this format of episodes. And are you guys happy to see my face again? I know there are people out there who said they wanted to see my face, and I just facepalmed myself so hard because I didn't realize how much away from vlogs I had gotten away from. Anyway, I'm off topic. That was a season review of MLP, Friendship is Magic. Again, look for more of those in the future, and that's it. So long, farewell, Ad Vita say, goodbye.